Hello, and welcome to Every Persona Explained, where we take a look at the origin and representation of every persona. And today we're taking a look at Thanatos. Thanatos is a death god from Greek tradition. I say a death god because there are a few of them. Also, Thanatos is a god of death, not of the dead. That's Hades. Hades rules over the realm of the dead. Thanatos is a psychopomp, meaning he collects souls of the dead and guides them to the underworld. Greek tradition has a number of psychopomps, including Hermes, the Keres, and Charon. Why are there so many? Well, it appears each one fills a niche role, with Thanatos representing a more natural, non-violent death in contrast to, say, the Keres, female spirits of violent deaths, like those in battle or to disease. This may not be a universal view, as in Hesiod's Theogony. Thanatos is described as having an iron heart and brazen soul, which sounds awesome, and that when he takes hold of a human, he does not let go. He is hated even by the immortal gods. While this sounds harsh, he is a personification of death, so he wouldn't exactly be on top of everyone's friend list, now would he? Also in the Theogony, he is said to be the child of Nyx, the primordial deity of night, and only Nyx, with no other parent. However, in Hyginus's Fabulae, it claims that he is the child of Nyx and Erebus, the primordial deity of darkness. Regardless of his parentage, he has a bunch of siblings. He is the twin brother of Hypnos, the god of sleep, which he is often depicted with, but they have a number of other siblings, including fate, old age, dissolution, moderation, dreams, prudence, discord, misery, wantonness, nemesis, good cheer, friendship, compassion, hatred, the three fates, and the Hesperides. Family reunion is going to be busy. Thanatos doesn't often appear directly in myth. The Greeks didn't want to get his attention by talking about him, but he does pop up occasionally. The most famous story he appears in is the story of Sisyphus. Sisyphus was the king of Corinth, who had gotten into the habit of killing his guests. A big problem, as this violated the law of hospitality that Greece had. This was extra foolish, since it was Zeus's job to punish violators of this law, and Sisyphus was already on his bad side for crossing him in the past. So Zeus sends Thanatos to capture Sisyphus and bring him to the underworld. Unfortunately, Sisyphus was cunning and managed to trick Thanatos, chain him up, and imprison him in his palace. This was great for Sisyphus, since he couldn't die now, because all the other death gods were on vacation or something. But this also meant that no one else could die. This pissed off Ares of all gods, since war is boring if no one dies, I guess. Ares eventually figured out where Thanatos was, busted into Corinth, rescued him, and dragged Sisyphus to the underworld. However, Sisyphus was cunning, and he had told his wife not to give him a proper burial when he died. She agreed, although was probably confused, and didn't bury him. When in the underworld, Sisyphus pleaded with Hades and Persephone to go back, saying that his wife didn't even bury him, the bitch. So they agreed to let him return to get a proper burial set up for him. When he returns, he doesn't do that and just keeps living. Thanatos refuses to deal with him again, and the other death gods are still on vacation, so Sisyphus lives many more years. And then he dies. When he once again ends up in the underworld, Thanatos, Hades, and Persephone are all pissed. So they decide to punish Sisyphus by forcing him to roll a huge boulder up a hill, only for it to roll down the other side when he got to the top. A pointless task, reflecting his attempts to escape death. And that's Thanatos, one of ancient Greece's death gods. So how's he represented in a game? Oddly, most classical depictions of Thanatos show him as a winged man, usually naked, either as a younger man or as an older man with a beard. I initially thought this was maybe designed to resemble the school uniforms, since he's a protagonist persona. His legs are very similar to Aegis's legs, maybe that's there to show their connection? However, I may have found where part of the design inspiration came from. The 3rd century BC saw the career of Euripides, a Greek playwright and poet. Euripides was prolific and famous in his time for his tragedies like Medea, Orestes, and Iphigenia at Aulis. One of the plays he wrote was called Alcestis. In this play, Heracles pops in on an old friend by the name of King Admetos, who is in mourning. The king tells him he's mourning a stranger, like you do, and invites Heracles to stay. Heracles then finds out from a servant that the king is actually mourning his wife, Alcestis. Well, Heracles decides he isn't having any of that, gets drunk, and goes into the tomb where Alcestis' body is. Then, when Thanatos shows up to take her soul, Heracles pops out of the shadows and fights him, and wins. Because of course he does. Thanatos runs off, and Alcestis gets to keep living, and everyone is happy. Except for probably Thanatos, because he was literally just there to do his job. In this play, Thanatos is described as being dressed in black and carrying a sword. Coincidence? Nah, probably not. He has a ring of coffins around him. He is death, so it's very thematic. But out of the SMT wiki, it says, the depiction of Thanatos in Persona 3 seems to be derived more from the earliest mythological accounts, being characterized as a grim warrior surrounded by a mantle of metal coffins. I have no idea where this comes from. I've looked at as many depictions and descriptions as I can find, and none of them say anything about this morbid mantle. If anyone can find a classical depiction of Thanatos with coffins dripping off of him, let me know. He does appear in P1 as a hooded figure aided by tentacles, and this is just creepy. Thanatos is in the Death Arcana. Do I need to explain why that's the correct one? No? Okay, I'll do it anyways. Upright, death represents endings, change, transitions, and mortality. He's a death god, so those obviously fit. When reversed, death can represent resisting change, much like the story of Sisyphus, who tried to resist death. In P1, his moveset includes both curse and death damage moves, because P1 is a lawless wasteland where there are no rules and 28 damage types. Across the various P3s, he gets access to almighty moves, slashing moves, dark moves, fear-inflicting moves, and a light move? The almighty moves reflect him being a deity. Slashing reflects his depiction of having a sword. Dark and fear moves are for him being feared and associated with darkness. And the light move is interesting, as it could be a reflection of his role as a god of good natural deaths, as opposed to violent ones. He also has a signature move, Door to Hades. This move does almighty damage with a chance of insta-killing targets. This is very thematically appropriate, as well as being referenced to his role as an underworld god and psychopomp. His trait is Iron Heart, which decreases SP cost by half after Baton Pass, and gives automatic Tetra card and Makara card at the start of battle. First off, damn that's strong. Second off, the name is in reference to the Theogony, where he's described as having an Iron Heart. Very good. When itemized in 5, he gives the Darkness Ring or the Darkness Ring R, giving curse evasion and an increased magic. However, his Picaro form gives either the skill card for this, a high damage dark move, or Demonic Decree, a dark move that halves the target's HP. These also reflect his roles as a scary underworld god. Overall, this is good. Thanatos is a scary character in the tradition, and his design and moves are appropriate for that. Still don't get where the coffin mantle comes from. Might just be for the cool factor. This video was a lot of fun to make. Unfortunately, I did just have the word Thanatos to the tune of Sephiroth going through my head the entire time. So that was fun. And I genuinely cannot figure out where that quote from the wiki is coming from about the depictions of the coffin mantle. I would love to find the depiction or the description they're talking about. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Let me know who you want to see next time in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you next time on Every Persona Explained.